Hey YouTube, welcome to the new place. Many great wonders await us here, and one such wonder is the information superhighway known as the internet. We use the internet so much in our daily lives today. We rely on it so much that when it is absent, our electronics and computers feel so much more useless. Like, what do you even do if you don't have the internet? Well, the internet connectivity here is pretty poor. That's kind of just one of the perils of moving. Excuse the mess, by the way. And, well, I was wondering, it's good for some things. It's good enough for, browsing basic websites, reading articles, and stuff like that. And one other thing it would be pretty good for is BBSs. Now, BBSs, or bulletin board systems, are something that only required an old school home computer. Well, to us it would be old school, and a 56K modem. Now, a 56K modem, as the name implies, isn't very fast. I don't think you'll be getting gigabit speeds on that. But it was enough for those bulletin board systems where you would go online and communicate with people, just kind of like now you do with forums and other places on the internet. But as a kid, I never used bulletin board systems. I mean, I remember 56K modems, but definitely not bulletin boards. I think I grew up in sort of the web era rather than the BBS era. But that makes me wonder what bulletin board systems are. And I went on them and I tried exploring them, but they seem to be mostly kind of for nostalgic value or just tightly knit communities of people who are into old school retro tech. So for me, I was wondering if maybe I could get my old school retro computer of choice to be on the big boy internet. The www, the World Wide Web and stuff. So let's find out. Is it even possible to get a Commodore 64 on the modern internet? I don't know, but I hope to find out in this video. Short answer is no, not really. The Commodore 64 does not support the TCP IP stack, and even with the ability to connect it to both Ethernet and Wi-Fi through various expansion cartridges, there's no simple, straightforward way it can browse the internet. Not to mention, of course, the hardware limitations. Have you been to any websites lately? Remember websites? Yeah, they're not exactly programmed for ultimate hardware utilization efficiency, especially with modern browsers, but that doesn't mean we can't browse the internet using the Commodore 64. All it needs is a little bit of help. What if we have another computer do the internet access and we just control and display the internet on the Commodore 64? Now I know that sounds kind of like cheating, but using the C64 as a quote-unquote dumb terminal actually opens up quite a lot of possibilities. But first, some context. A terminal is, for most people, the app that sits in their macOS dock or something they open up on Linux to type in programs. But actually those are terminal emulators running on real computers. The word terminal itself originates from old computer terminals, devices that can be used for entering data into or transcribing data from a computer. Nowadays we have a computer to which a monitor and keyboard are hooked up to, but back then instead of that it would be one computer which can be accessed by a device or multiple devices, usually containing at least a monitor and a keyboard. Sometimes they contain some processing power, making them smart terminals. Sometimes they contain nothing to really write home about in the processing power department, making them dumb terminals. And sometimes just a keyboard and a printer. Imagine that. The point was to send data to and receive data from a computer with processing power that is doing all the computing. Nowadays, there's SSH, or Secure Shell Tunnel, a modern communication protocol that allows you to remotely connect to another computer over the network. Say you have a computer like a Raspberry Pi in a tight space as an Internet of Things appliance, measuring temperature or humidity in a greenhouse, and you can't hook up a monitor to it. Well, you can use SSH to connect to it remotely and effectively get yourself a command line interface on that computer, on the Raspberry Pi, while using your terminal emulator program on your client computer, like your laptop or desktop, as the input and output to input commands and display their output. Still with me? Okay. This is kind of like what we need, except of course, an older computer like the C64 does not support a new complex protocol like SSH, and SSH offers a whole host of features we don't really need. Going back a little further in time, Telnet was a similar protocol, insecure and outdated by today's standards, yet still available for use in the Linux kernel, and useful for remoting into or from machines running things like Windows 95, in a similar fashion to SSH. I did something like this using Telnet to remote into a Linux machine from a Windows 2000 equipped IBM ThinkPad 3 ATXD for the very productive purpose of why not, and my obsession with running screen fetch on everything that can and can't. This is closer. It's still a little more sophisticated than necessary, and I can't think of a way to do it, so I started considering alternatives like Netcat, which is quite simply just a networking Swiss knife, and explaining the massive amount of features and uses it has is outside the scope of this video. Point is, eventually I realized that no matter what I use, I'd also need to find a compatible combination of a network card that can either be a Wi-Fi or Ethernet, and a terminal application. And I don't really feel like typing in a long WPA2 password on a computer that has the clear key that clears everything you wrote right next to delete. So it would have to be wired anyway, and there's no guarantee of a compatibility. So it kind of hit me. I don't need any kind of internet at all on the C64 side, no tools like SSH or Telnet. That just kind of complicates things. No, what I need is much more simple and rudimentary. What I need is a serial connection. The Commodore 64 fully supports serial communication. Serial just plainly means sending data one bit at a time. It does so through the user port of the computer, used to connect various peripherals to it, such as a printer or modem. Particularly lucky for us, like almost everything, it supports RS-232, a standard originally introduced in 1960 for transmission of data. It was mostly used to connect a computer terminal to a modem, so that a modem can connect it to another computer on the network. But since I have no need for networking and have no modem, what I need is an RS-232 serial null modem cable, a cable that does what it implies in the name and works fine without a modem, allowing us to directly connect to computers, to put it simply. A standard RS-232 cable uses either a DB25 port or a DB9 port. DB25 is kind of the older of the two, while DB9 ports can still be found today on some computers that you're meant to use in the field with older equipment and things like that, and many computers from the 90s especially. The number in the port refers to the number of pins. The C64 uses the aforementioned user port, which is quite different from either of the two. But since the standard is the same, an adapter is rudimentary to make and can be bought for quite cheap. As for the DB9 connector we're adapting to, well, I have at least two computers that support serial via DB9 connectors, but they run Windows. While it's perfectly doable in Windows, I honestly prefer to use Linux for these types of things. The flexibility just can't be beaten, and so I don't have to dig up an old version of Linux to run on Pentium. I went with just using a modern Linux laptop with no serial port, but it does have a USB port, and would you know it, USB supports serial. It's all completely backwards compatible in this sense, I suppose. But we still need an adapter cable, so I went out shopping, and this is what I got. First off, we have the user port to RS-232 adapter. This just plugs into the user port of the Commodore 64 and has an RS-232 connector on the other side. Or rather, a DB9 connector that supports RS-232 protocol if you want to be pedantic, but whatever. Let's get it plugged in. It's kind of a annoyingly hard to plug in device, but it is what it is. Next up, we've got the USB to DB9 connector, RS-232 null modem cable, with the RS-232 connector on this side with two helpful lights on it to indicate some data transfer is actually going on. Those two things on the side are bolts that are usually used to secure it in place. However, since our adapter lacks those, we won't be needing them. And on the other side, we've just got a plain old USB 2.0 cable. Yeah, side note, kind of important that you plug this into a USB 2.0 port. USB is supposed to be backwards compatible, but never can be too sure about that, to be honest. So let's get that all the way in there, nice and snug to make sure that there's no loose connectivity going on. Connected all up together, the Commodore 64 looks fine. For the Linux, we'll be using my trusty ThinkPad X201. So with all that ready, we're almost good to go. There's still software to figure out here, and Authenticator is sort of my terminal of choice. It's full-featured, it supports all sorts of things, and it's tested to work with W3M, which will come in useful later when I get to explaining what that is. Anyhow, yeah, it's fully featured, it has control keys, it supports all VT102 stuff, and honestly, after trying a couple of them, this is just the one I had the most luck with, especially at a high baud, like 9600. So yeah, I mean, this is probably the best choice I could have made. The installation is really, really simple as well. All you get is sort of this terminal configuration and systemd service. So I won't even bother really going into it because this is so well documented that it was just a matter of following the instructions correctly. And it has all the keys and everything kind of written down. Also, one side note, one thing that didn't work for me is running the systemd command as root. Usually starting a systemd service, I just run it as sudo, which means running it with super user privileges, administrator privileges, whatever you want to call it. But in this situation, for some reason, when I do that, it would not work. I suppose that's maybe because it opens up a shell somewhere else. Anyway, with the USB plugged in, it's time to get to setting up the software for this thing. So all I really need to do after installing it all is just to run this command, which, as I said, starts the systemd service. Let's authenticate, and yeah, we should be good to go. Let's turn on the Commodore 64 and see how we get on there. So we'll just go into File Browser 64 on our SD2 IEC. And let me find the program. Where is it? Yeah, that's kind of embarrassing. Where is it? Oh, don't tell me I forgot to load it. Oh, there it is, right there. See it? So we'll quit out of that and just load it normally. And here we got the program. All right. So I think first thing we need to do is access the help menu because I don't remember the shortcuts for this. That is Commodore H. And then I believe we've got to adjust the baud here to, what did I set it to? We'll try 1200 first and see if anything happens. Maybe we'll give it a moment, try pressing some keys. Doesn't seem to be like there's a whole lot happening. What could it be? I guess my baud setting must be wrong here. I was right. After messing around with it for a bit, I finally got the login prompt to show up, and look at that, I'm logging into my ThinkPad X201 as you can see on the screen there. Hey, let's run NeoFetch. I mean, why else are we doing this, right? That's barely legible thanks to the 40-column display, but you know, it works. Maybe Who Am I is a better choice here. Yeah, so we're logged in, we've got the full shell, we can do all sorts of things with this, and yeah, I'm just really happy I got this to work. It's really nice, really nice. And one more interesting thing that I think is worth pointing out here, not only that you can echo hello world, but also when you type, you can actually see the lights that I mentioned earlier on the serial cable light up. This is really useful for seeing that communication is actually happening, receiving and sending. It's that simple. But hey, this is a nice project. I'm glad that it came out this way. And honestly, you know, I think I deserve a sip. I think I deserve a sip. But this isn't over yet because, of course, the point here is to go to the internet. And as I mentioned earlier, W3M is a software that we're going to use. W3M, as well as some other ones like Lynx 2, are text-based web browsers. This means that we can go on the internet within a terminal, which is the only kind of environment that we can access here on the Commodore 64. So it's really useful that we can also go browse the internet that way. Now, there are limitations, and I'll get into that. The first and most prominent limitation, as you can see, is probably the graphics, or rather lack thereof. And, well, while the Google search function works just fine, it only makes it more apparent that even with text, which is the only thing we can display, we only got about 40 columns of text, which is as much as Commodore 64 can possibly display. And yeah, after a while, the page finally loaded, probably due to my internet rather than this. But yeah, as you can see, we can scroll around with the cursor keys, go up and down, and well, it's not exactly pleasant to look at when compared to modern web browsing, but it's functional. I can definitely read the text. And well, let's try to Google my channel name. I mean, I don't think anything relevant to me would possibly come up, but just for this showcase. And yeah, looks like at the top there we got some images, and we can't load images through this text-based web browser, but we can see the links to them. Wow. So yeah, honestly, it's so quick too. Like, just shows you how much of the internet is graphics and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, let's try going to a more, you know, text-oriented website, I suppose, like the Scientific American. And oh, yeah, so without being able to properly display the site layout, we're just gonna have to scroll through all these things that would usually be at the top. And yeah, when and why you should get a flu shot. I like that the text is in different colors. Water on Mars? Again? Yeah, and you can see those social media sharing links. They're supposed to have the symbols next to them, you know, the Facebook icon, etc., and we can't see it. And with some text encoding here, I assume with CSS, we can actually see the empty symbols that the Commodore 64 can't really render. Neither can the text browser. Also, if you saw that, that was advertisement at the top. So hey, at least we don't get to see ads, which is pretty cool in my book. Let's try a really text-based website like Hacker News. Waiting. Hey, there we go. Right, so yeah, articles are numbered, and this is probably the most, the best experience I had with a website browsing it this way. CRDTs are the future. No idea what a CRDT is, but okay. I mean, we can read the article, not that I understand it, and not that you would want to read it this way, but hey, it is a thing. You can do it. Hey, and there's Wikipedia. Wikipedia also works pretty well, and you've even got the list of references there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're not, you know, super script styled, but hey, I mean, this is pretty rudimentary. And the links are all highlighted in blue as well, which is quite helpful. And I think we'll be able to navigate via the links through the Wikipedia page. Let's try, let's try clicking on one of them. Well, not clicking, but rather pressing enter, which is how we navigate around here, around these parts. Yeah, that works. Sent me right down to the subheading. Really quick, too. I'm so surprised. I mean, even usually, like, the Commodore 64 takes a while to display a bunch of text, but I suppose since we're doing most of the web browsing on a modern computer, again, modern in quotes, 2011 was 9 years ago, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, it works, and I'm really happy that it does. It's kind of a party trick, but hey, it is what it is. Let's go to Reddit. Let's go to the front page of Reddit, or whatever. You've got a list of countries down there. I assume that's like in some menu. Or in the sidebar. I don't really know how Reddit usually works. What's the dumbest way you've gotten this car? Can we look at the comments, I wonder? Loading. 1.3 megabits. Wow. That's higher than like both the RAM of the C64 and, you know, and any floppy drive that would have been used back then. So, you know, we're already exceeding the specs of this computer just by going to this text-based version of the website. Smack my face. Yeah. Rocket, like, just a bunch of menus things. Well, let's try to go to the end of the internet as our internet browsing session approaches its conclusion. Hey, we finally reached the end of the internet. Go do something useful with the rest of your life. And, yeah, that we will. That we definitely will do. Oh, there's some broken text there. Personally interact with... That's text standards for you, you know. Alright, so there's more things you can do with this than just mess around with the text-based web browser. I'm gonna try to CD into a directory, and please do excuse me, I have not used this laptop for a while, and last I remember the directory structure here is, oh no, it is quite a mess. It's just a bunch of apps and programs I was working on, and projects, scripts, backups, like backup client to 2804. I have no idea what that means. I guess 28th of April? Then there's 30th of April. Huh, whatever. Oh yeah, there would be a 30th of April. Yeah, why wouldn't there be? God damn it. Anyway, I know there's this folder, so we can go in there. And I got some bash scripts, if you can see. These bin to decimal things, bin to hex. Let's try that one out. I don't remember how it works. Oh, I guess we have to supply a parameter. Let's try it like that. 77 in hex, apparently. I don't know how well this works, because I have not... Well, I have viewed it, but I haven't touched it in a while. Like, I don't think I've looked really in depth in that script. So yeah, as you can see with 40 columns, everything kind of ends up getting squished onto multiple lines, and well, on Linux terminal, like on any terminal emulator on a modern Linux computer, this would look perfectly fine. It's not so fine here. It's a little hard to navigate. I think I'm just gonna look up the directory. There we go. Let's try running this script. Oh. I guess this one wants, oh, damn it. Okay, never mind. I guess this one wants an input like this. Yay. That works. FF is 255 in decimal. So yeah, I mean... There you go, you can run very simple bash scripts. Clear, not Claire. There we go. Let's list that again. Also, you can edit text here this way. If car honks don't interrupt you and your workflow while you're recording a little voiceover for your YouTube video. But, yeah, so if we just try to run this Python script, I don't remember what it does. Where's the underscore on this keyboard? Oh, I should have memorized the... I should have memorized the character mapping table that came with this terminal. But oh, there we go. Got it. Also, I don't know what the tab key is, so no command completion for me. Hey, yeah. Oh yeah, this gets like a bunch of earthquake information. This is just when I was learning how to work with like Jason. Okay, you let me know how that's pronounced, because I'm sure if I pronounce it or claim to know how to pronounce it one way or the other, somebody will point that out. Let's try not Jedit, Nano. Yeah, Nano is a text-based editor, and this script, Google application credentials. What is this? Oh, it's Oh, it's a script I made, well, most of it's stolen, but it executes a Linux command, like a terminal command, using speech recognition via Google's speech recognition API. And yeah, looking through this file is very painful, and I mean, to be fair, I also do use tabs a lot, sue me. I mean, I'll probably stop when I have more experience programming in the field and get enough complaints, but yeah, tabs render as, ooh, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters on the screen? Yeah, well, let's clear that stuff out of the way. Let's try to edit maybe a simpler script, something that doesn't have that many lines and characters. I also don't understand why it was, yeah, let's do this one. This is a different script that's completely mistitled. I think this was a work in progress. Yeah, it is a work in progress. I haven't given up on it yet, but it's a sort of Morse code generator, if you will, and translator. So yeah, and we can actually type if I can find the square. Yay! We can actually type stuff in here and save it. So yeah, I think the LSSS stuff stands for like long short, and then I'd read in a Morse code beep in like a wave file, and then I generate like a string, long short, short, like that, and then I would translate it into characters like this. So yeah, never finished it, but hey, figured this out later. Is my, you know, to-do note for this. Oh, fucking cron job failing somewhere. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so yeah, kind of did a little bit of text editing there, and I mean, just to show you that it was possible, let's try something. Yeah, we can, oh no, okay, yeah, alright, let's quit that. I don't know, it feels like the A key on the C64 I have isn't quite as sensitive as the other keys. I have to kind of like press it harder. I keep typing clear instead of clear. Well, I think that's just about it. I mean, I'm really quite happy despite the limitations of what we were able to achieve. There's just something so surreal about doing something that's really modern on an old computer like that. Let's mess around with it a little more. How about we use the lolcat utility. Nope. Pipe symbol? Please, pipe symbol? I need a goddamn pipe. There we go. Yeah, let's pipe that into lolcat. Lolcat, if you don't know, is a utility that makes the text look all rainbow-like on a normal Linux terminal, but I was curious how it would work with the limited colors of the Commodore 64. Hey. Colors, maybe? Hopefully it displays more than just, like, one color this time. Pipe? There we go. Lolcat. No, nothing. Oh. Hey, there you go. Thanks for watching, guys. If you couldn't tell, I was about to segue into the outro. Yeah. And we can log out, and we're back to the login prompt of Debian10 with my incredibly long host name, which I'm sure people will say I should shorten. And we can reset, and now we're back into the Commodore basic menu, as you can see. I used the reset button on the fast load cartridge. See, you can exit the terminal by pressing Q, but you actually, you know, it'll load the normal routines of basic instead of the fast load ones, so it's easier this way. So subscribe and like, and subscribe and like a lot. This is kind of simple, but I think I have a more interesting idea for this. How about, let's say, temperate like 20 print subscribe. No. Share. There we go. You're free to turn the video off at this point. And there we go. And now that's gonna have a real subliminal quality to it. Look at that. It's like you're being told something. Anyway, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Bye.